Hey you guys, ASD Classified here. I wasn't going to review this episode, but since my plans kind of fell through for tonight, I said, what the hey. Oh, and follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/ASD Classified, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Just saying, you know. So this lovely episode starts off with Mikey and Kevin, training outside the Shiba house. They were like slicing up fruit and stuff, and it looked cool. And Emily was practicing her symbol power, and she accidentally summoned a giant boulder, which almost ran over Mikey and Kev. So the boys were using their swords to slow down the boulder, and after all that mess was done, like, Mikey had a line like, wow, imagine if our swords were strong enough to like cut through the boulder like Decker's sword or something like that. And Kevin was like, man, just be lucky we haven't come up against anybody with that type of power. Epic foreshadowing. How funny for Kevin to say that, because this episode had the Rangers face off against a monster called Armadevil, was his name? An armadillo type monster whose shell is so hard, a boulder like shell, that the Rangers can't cut through with their sword. What are the odds of that? And yes, us old school Mighty Morphin people were having flashbacks during this episode to the Sockadilla monster of season 1. I really like the Sockadilla monster. Cut to my boy Antonio going to fish at the docks again, and he accidentally loses his morpher. I really wasn't paying that much attention to this scene, so forgive me. I think it fell out of his pocket or something, and Bulk and Spike just happened to be there too, and they found it on the floor, and they were talking about this foolishness, like, oh, it's for a samurai, like, it's their honor or something to return lost stuff to people, some kind of crap like that. Yeah. Oh yeah, and before I forget, Mimi and JJ had a scene too. Like, they were shopping, and Mimi bought all these ingredients for food and cooking, and the ingredients didn't really go together. And she was like, it's all about how you mix the ingredients. And Jaden was like, yeah, you tell that to the paramedics. Damn, that was actually a pretty funny line. That was a clever line. But still, this whole tired joke of Mia not being able to cook is kind of really getting old. Like, can y'all please do something new with this? Somebody tell the girls you can't cook. It's getting old. Come on now. Skippity doo dah, skippity day. So the monster shows up, and Mimi and JJ are the first Rangers to fight the monster, and then the other 3 main Rangers join the fight, and they all get their butts whipped by this monster, and his protective shell is too hard for their swords to penetrate. Blah da 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 da, and like the swords need more power. So why not use that new power up that you got, huh? The black box. You're not gonna use that. It might help you cut. You don't wanna. Okay, alright. So we're back at the Shiba house discussing how the Rangers can't beat this monster, and Mentor tells the others like he can't get a hold of Antonio, like he's called them and stuff. He's just not picking up because Bulk and Spike have the phone, and hilarious antics are going on with that. Anyway, oh yeah, and at the end of like Antonio's voice message, he said like holla back. I'm like, really? Alright, keep trying to be hip. But yeah. And then Kevin said, oh, Antonio is always, fooling around or something, and that's why he's not answering. I'm like, what? Since when does he fool around? What? Sit down, Kevin. Just go sit down in the corner, shut up, sit down, go, don't say anything anymore. And anyway, and then Emily is like, she said something small, like maybe he's actually in trouble, which is a valid point to make. You can't contact him. We, the audience, know he's not in trouble, but the Rangers don't. So he may be in danger. Maybe you should, look for him. But, the monster alarm goes off, so the Rangers don't. They don't do anything further for Antonio. It's just G calls the phone. I'm like, thank God Antonio wasn't in any danger, otherwise the boy probably would be dead. I'm like, you could have had Jaden, his supposed best friend, tell G, like, hey, go check at the docks where you found him last episode and see if he's there or something. I don't know, just something. They just completely forgot about him, and I didn't really like that. And like, and it makes you think about like season 1 Mighty Morphin. They had a bunch of times where Tommy couldn't make it because he had to fight a bunch of putties or some stuff like that. But at least the Rangers are like, where's Tommy? Where's Tommy? We gotta find him. Zordon, Alpha, keep looking for him. We'll handle this. Something like that. So then we cut to this scene where Antonio is fishing and relaxing, having the time of his life, and then on the side of him, all hell is breaking loose, like explosions all through the city and people running. That scene was funny. So then we cut back to round 2 between the Rangers and Sacadillo 2.0. And the Rangers decided to use science to beat this monster. Oh, and this was Kevin's plan, by the way. So yeah, the monster, you know, he's rolling, you know, with the hard shell, and Mikey and Eminem create like a barrier with their Simba power to create like a rock barrier, and he runs into it, and that apparently softens the shell. And then Jaden and Mimi use their like fire and wind power like to burn the monster to make the shell really, really hot. And then Kevin uses his Simba power for water to hit it with a tidal wave and make the shell really, you know, quickly cold, and you know, which will start to make the thing crack. You know, science. So despite the monster's shell now being cracked and stuff, he is still strong enough to kick the Rangers' booties, and he certainly does. So they finally whip out the black box, and Kevin has the honor of using it, and he destroys the monster. But then the monster turns into a mega monster, and the Rangers call the Zords, which is like the longest Zord summoning sequence ever. Like, I literally tuned out at that point, and I didn't even pay attention to the Megazord fight. I was just... no. But yeah, I rewatched the Zord summoning sequence on the computer, and I will give Samurai this. Even though it was long as crap, it looked beautiful. It looked beautiful. And yeah, like, I see like the comparison between like the Zords when they were running towards like the battle scene together. It definitely looked like season 2 with the Thunder Zords running to the battle. Good old nostalgia. So yeah, the Rangers end up defeating the monster, of course, like with the new Megazord combination that they got in the last episode. So yeah, cut to the next scene. We have Bulk and Spike, who are still, you know, looking for the owner of the phone. And Bulk is like, you know, we can't give up. We gotta give the phone back. We gotta find who it belongs to, you know. And Spike is like, wait, aren't we at the same place where we found the phone? And then Bulk is like, good enough for me. And he just dropped the phone. That was genuinely funny. I laughed at that. I'm like, oh, Bo. So yeah, and then Emily and Mikey were at the dock too. Like, then they said, oh, Antonio, he's probably been here fishing this whole time and didn't even know what's going on. And then they found his morpher like on the floor where Bo dropped it on the ground, but whatever. Like, they found the phone, then they gave it to Antonio. You know, they were like, you idiot, don't you know we almost died today? You know. And basically the episode ended on that, I think, you know. Yeah. So yeah, that was the episode, and it was alright. I mean, it wasn't as good as last week's, but it was still alright. The monster was awesome. I mean, the monster had cool dialogue, and he actually gave the Rangers a challenge. Like, Sacadillo 2.0, he was great. It was cool. And like, despite Kevin eating up most of the scenes with his bad acting, it was the episode, you know, it's enjoyable enough. I really think like Super Samurai is getting good dialogue, which is good. It's making the episodes better. But I think now they need to start developing the characters more. Like, go deeper. Make these characters actually feel like characters. If I hear about Mia's bad cooking one more time, I will break the screen. Like, will you do something else? Like, go deeper. Learn about these people's past or something, you know? But yeah, the episode is just a little filler. It's okay. It's alright. Focus on something interesting, Samurai. Focus on Mike and Emily getting together. Focus on this new villain you keep saying is going to show up but hasn't showed up yet. Focus on Dayu again. You know, something like that. Alright, that's it. Later, guys. Holla back!